everyone, welcome back. Um, like I mentioned, we are going to jump into a presentation about Quizlet Teacher and the premium features that it offers. The features that we have add an enormous value to both you and your classroom. So we're very, very excited to speak about the multiple practical use that the Quizlet Teacher upgrade has. So here to talk about it is Amalia, another member of the
Hi everyone, this is Amalia. All right, so thanks again so much for joining us today. I'm really excited about all of today's presentations where we can really kind of leverage all the great ideas that teachers are coming up with in their own classrooms and share them with you today. But of course, I'm here to explain our Quizlet Teacher upgraded product. And just to start off, I want to say that the vast majority of our users are free, and we do really, it's part of our mission to provide free, accessible study tools and learning tools for students and teachers everywhere. So it's such an important part of our mission to keep things free and accessible for everyone. But part of how we do this is actually to sell a subscription product that's really great for teachers who are, more power users of Quizlet, are using it every day in their classrooms, have special use cases where they need some of the upgraded features. So, before even going into what these features are, I just want to really thank everyone who's already, subscribed to Quizlet Teacher for supporting, Quizlet's mission and supporting others using the free tools. So let's go ahead and get started. And your presenters, this is me. My name is Amalia. I'm on the marketing team for Quizlet, but I focus mostly on supporting our teacher community. So I think I mentioned this in the last presentation, but I manage our Teacher Ambassador program, which is a great program for our most passionate teacher advocates. We have about, I think, 1,300 ambassadors right now. All right, so Josh, it looks like you just joined the presentation. Thanks so much for that. And do you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Sure. My name is Josh Kurzweil, and I'm an ESL teacher in the Bay Area. I live in Berkeley, California. I also do teacher training and train ESL teachers as well as other types of teachers. And I teach on a master's program for English language teaching at Marlborough College.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Josh. And Josh has been such a wonderful teacher ambassador for us. He helps us test out new features, create content for, other ideas for other teachers. So thanks again, Josh, for all of your support. So let's move on here. And I'm going to be talking about the various features that the Quizlet Teacher package provides, but a little bit about our impact. And if you were here for the last session, you might have heard this already, but we have a massive impact. We support over 25 million students and teachers every month. Half of U.S. high school students use this at this point. And we did a survey last year asking people about their attitudes toward Quizlet, and 95% of learners said Quizlet improves their grades, and 90% said it motivates them more, which is just such wonderful feedback to hear. And so why use Quizlet at all? So most of you on this call today probably, already are using Quizlet, but maybe if you're joining from yesterday's session and you're just kind of getting started with it, students love Quizlet. There's a lot of fun, different ways to learn, and as you can see from the results that I just shared in the last slide, students are really motivated to study and own their success. Quizlet's also super easy to use. So I'm so happy we're doing all of these demos and these presentations, but if you sign up, it's pretty intuitive and you can get started in 30 seconds, and there's so many different ways to kind of adapt the tools for your specific use. They're really customizable. And then finally, with the many different learning activities that we offer and the interactive type of materials and the audio, the images, Quizlet really supports all learning styles. If you have students that want to learn in one way, or students that are really, obsessed with match or obsessed with the audio, it can really, support a more individualized approach to teaching. So, key benefits of Quizlet Teacher. So, with the Quizlet Teacher upgrade, we supply features that help you find great study material more quickly, features around organization and focus. We also give you tools to create more engaging There's some features around Quizlet Live that allow you to customize the game more. And then finally, class progress, which is our kind of analytics dashboard for teachers that tracks student activity and progress and gives you a view of that. Okay, so let's talk about finding grade sets. If you have an upgraded Quizlet teacher account and you go to search a term, you actually have an extra filter, which is teacher created sets only. So right now, if you open options in the upper right corner when you're searching, you have the option to search for image sets only, but this gives you an additional layer of drilling down to content that's probably a higher quality bar and more what you're looking for. So that's just a really great way to save some time and find the content that you need. And Josh, feel free to jump in at any point. If
I sure will.
Okay, great. So as far as promoting organization and focus, with a free Quizlet account, you can create up to 8 classes. And for a lot of people, that is enough classes, especially for a student, they wouldn't be taking more than that number of classes. But as a teacher and an active Quizlet user, you might want to create way more classes. And I actually took a screenshot of Josh's account on the left, and he has 14 classes set up. So again, if you are kind of a power user, having the ability to organize in a deeper way and with more classes, kind of keep a record of those classes, reuse them at a later time, this is a really great way to do that. And then finally, boosting focus. So something about all of our upgrades, but the Quizlet teacher one is a little bit more special. You might have noticed with the free account, we do serve ads. And we try to keep them very, benign, and they're just kind of standard ad placements. It's important that they're not super distracting. It's a study site after all. But this is a way that we do support the free business, and it's an important part of that. But if you upgrade to Quizlet Teacher as another way to support Quizlet's mission, we remove all ads when you're logged in. And for Quizlet Teacher, we actually remove all ads that are on your study sets. So that means if your students are studying the sets that you create and share with them, they're also seeing no ads while they're studying. Okay. So as far as creating more engaging content, and I know, Josh, that we talked a little bit about your use of this, some really great features that you have when you go to create a set are to upload your own images. So right now, for a free account, we offer a free image gallery that you can choose from. And that gallery is a collection of kind of user-contributed and popular images. But if you're an upgraded user, you actually, if you don't find something that works, or you're trying to show an image for something a little bit more abstract, so you're not finding something, you can upload your own. Or if you just kind of prefer to upload your own because they're ones that you've either drawn or you have in a different sort of worksheet, you can do that really easily with this upgraded feature.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that, and just say that I found that having the freedom to upload my own pictures has been really helpful. Sometimes it's something that I might have found on the web, or something. A lot of times it'll be something that I'll actually take with my camera phone, with the phone on my camera. So, for example, I took the students on a tour of the school, and I took pictures of different things in the school. Since they're ESL students, they're learning the words for those in English, and then I was able to upload those directly onto a set, and then be able to review those. So having that ability to customize the pictures has been really, really helpful in creating sets that are really specific to my students' needs.
Yeah, that's such a great use case. Thanks for sharing that, Josh. I really like that idea. So another aspect of creating more engaging content with the upgraded package, you have the ability to record your own audio. So if you have a free account, we actually provide 18 different languages of text-to-speech audio, which means as your students are studying, they're actually hearing the Spanish pronunciation, they're hearing the French, several other languages. But sometimes, if we don't support that language, or if you want your students to hear your specific accent, or even just hear your voice, this is a really easy way to do that. You would go to create set, you would click on that little icon that you see on the right, you press the space bar to record. You can record several different times to get something that you actually like. You can can switch to term, you can switch to definition. Let's just the Quizlet recording first if you just want to check that yours is better. There's a lot of ways that you can use this. And so obviously this makes a lot of sense for, language teachers, but we've also talked to teachers that use it for verbal hints or example sentences or even to record, specific sounds or noises. And Josh, do you want to include anything about your use of this feature?
Absolutely. Again, as an ESL teacher, one of the things that's really challenging for English language learners is the way spoken English is different from written English. So, for example, if you have something, and I know a lot of Quizlet users, a lot of teachers have English language learners, even if you aren't necessarily teaching ESL. So, for example, if you have a question like, "How long did you stay there?" Well, that's the way it would appear if you were reading it. How long did you stay there? But when spoken, it will sound much more like, "How long did you stay there?" And there's all this kind of connected speech that happens, and stress and intonation, which makes it much more difficult for English language learners to understand. So what I do is when I create Quizlet sets with words or statements or questions, I'll go ahead and record my own voice, and then I can record it both fast and slow. So I'll just do just like that. I'll say, how long did you stay there? How long did you stay there? And students can start to pick up on these features of connected speech, and they start to hear things like, "Oh, ja means did you." And so it's just a great tool for being able to make content more accessible to English language learners.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly it. And this is just one of my favorite features. I think it just adds so much more depth into your content. And it is really worth that time investment to do it like that, because then you can reuse these sets year after year. You can edit them at any time. So I really think it's worth it.
Amelia, I just wanted to add one other thing, which was that when I first saw it, I thought that it was going to be a lot of work to add the recordings, but the user interface is so good that literally you can take, I took a set of 25 terms, and I was able to do all of my recordings in about 10 minutes. It's so fast. The way the space bar is set up, it's fantastic. I was sort of shocked how easy it was to get the recordings on there. So if for our listeners, if you haven't tried it because you're thinking, "Oh, it looks like it's going to be a pain," it's really not. And I would really encourage you to give it a try. I think also there's something about, even if you don't have English language learners, there's something about your students, hearing your voice too, that can be kind of engaging and for them.
Yeah, we
totally encourage you to try it.
The students are always so surprised and excited to hear their teacher's voice coming out of the computer. Okay, so let's talk about Quizlet Live. So as many of you probably know, Quizlet Live is a feature that's available to all teacher accounts. It's totally free. You can use it as much as you want, but there are a few deeper features for upgraded Quizlet teacher users. So those include the ability to create your own team. So right now with a free account, Quizlet Live will automatically generate and randomize teams for you. But sometimes if you have a couple of students that you don't want to put together, or a team that kind of always happens to be placed together but always wins, this is a great way to create your own teams and have a little bit more control over that. Another aspect is the ability to keep the gameplay going. So right now, if you use Quizlet Live, you'll have to stop and restart every game. But if you want to keep playing on the same set, it's super easy to do that with the upgraded package. And then finally, with Quizlet Live, the free version, you can't use the Quizlet supplied or the voice recorded audio, but you can actually enable that when you have the upgraded version.
And Maya, if I could just jump in for a second about Quizlet Live. one of the things that happens is that, like, for example, creating your own teams. That means there are some classrooms that I have where it's not really easy for the students to move around,
Right.
and so when you can create your own teams, you can just, you can have the teams be the students that are sitting right next to each other. And then again, I was sort of amazed how easy it was, because literally you just say, okay, your team A, your team B, your team C, and then they sign up on their phones really quickly. And so there's been a number of times when I just really couldn't have them stand up and move. It would have just been too much for that moment in the class. I would have kind of lost them in terms of management.
Right. Right.
And the creating your own teams really, really helped. And then the other thing I was just going to say about keeping the gameplay going is that it is a really fun and engaging game. And almost always I play at least 2 or 3 rounds with students. And so, it's pretty unusual when you say, hey, do you guys want to do that again in the class? And they all scream yes. And so it's really nice to be able to just click it, and then they're off and they're running and doing it again.
Yeah, that's great. And that was a really great point about creating your own teams. We've heard from a lot of teachers that, we don't have one-to-one devices. We have a computer lab, so it's impossible for students to get up and move their physical computers. So that's a really good point. Thanks for adding that. Okay, so next. So, and this is the last kind of key feature of Quizlet Teacher, class progress. And what this is a kind of analytics dashboard that gives you more insight into how your students are studying, whether they've completed or started modes, as well as kind of a cumulative group progress tracker. So the first aspect of this is individual study activity. You can see what modes have been started and completed, and we'll actually go into a bit of demo right before Q&A. But as you can see on the left, this would be a view of a specific set, an activity on that set. So you can filter for your class, which, if this one set is in multiple classes, you'll want to select which class you want to look at. And then you can also filter by a time period. So if I, assigned my students, tonight I want you to study in these ways, it's really easy to actually filter to that time period and then see if they actually did that work. So as you can also see, there's kind of a difference between the outlined icons, the kind of light gray ones, and then the ones with the green check marks. And those differences are, if it's outlined or filled in, that means they started the activity, but they didn't complete it. If it's that kind of light gray color, it means they did not start it. And then if it has a green check mark, it actually means that they completed the activity. It doesn't tell you how many times they've completed the activity, but they have completed it at least once during that time frame.
Yeah, if I can chime in. So one of the things that I think all teachers face is wanting to motivate students to actually study at home. And, all of the science of learning research says that this is a key thing, is being able to space out your practice. And so if they only study in class, you can do some with them, but really they need to be studying more at home. And so one of the things that I do is I always use a projector and project Quizlet onto my screen, and so that the students can all see it. And after the first day, I assign Quizlet as homework, and then the next day I'll project who did it, and I can say, "Oh, okay, good job, yeah, wow, you know, so and so you did that, and then they're sort of stunned because they're like, "Oh my God, he can actually see." And I always do it on the second day because that way I still encourage them to join.
Right.
But it's really funny because I don't really need to do much else besides that. Once they know that I can see that they've studied, it's just enough to kind of push some of them who maybe wouldn't otherwise study to study. And the other thing I was just going to add is that it is also really helpful to see what they're studying, because I'll talk more about this when I do my next panel about classroom hacks. But a lot of times, some students aren't as savvy as in terms of their learning strategies. And so when you can see what they're doing at home, that's really helpful. So, for example, spell is much more difficult than flashcards. And because spell involves actually typing it, which is a kind of production, versus recognition, and so which is what happens with flashcards. And so, if you see somebody's just constantly doing test and spell, you might be able to encourage them and say, hey, you might want to start with flashcards or with match.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point. And I just want to go back to what you were saying before about, encouraging and enabling students to study effectively at home, not just in the classroom. That really is one of the most amazing things about Quizlet, that you can use it in class, you can use it at home, with the mobile app, you can use it, in line, on the bus, really wherever. So, Quizlet just makes it so easy for students to get engaged with studying wherever they are at any time. So, great point. So just to talk a little bit more about what you see with class progress, this is just another kind of view. So we actually do give you a little bit more data into a few of the modes where students are achieving high scores or getting, a test result. So again, this is just the same page that I showed before, but if you hover over test, match, or gravity, you'll actually be able to see the student's best attempt during that time period. So let's say the student took tests maybe 3 times. Maybe you wouldn't know that, but you would know that the best try that they did during that time period was 80%. And then with match, you can see their highest score. With gravity, the same thing, their points. So that's kind of a good way to get a sense of how they're doing on those modes. And yeah, just kind of a fun thing to know. And then as far as the other side of class progress, this one actually, the screens that I showed you before are kind of a separate page that you get to by clicking on a button in the toolbar on the step page, which I can actually demo in a bit. But this is the other side of it, and this actually is on the step page, and it's a special view for teachers with the class progress feature and the Quizlet teacher upgrade. You can sort the view of your terms and definitions by students and actually see some group data on how students are doing with those terms and definitions. So it goes from, rarely missed or never missed to missed all the time. You get a percentage, and this is just a great way to, at a glance, get a sense of which concepts or terms students are struggling on, which can help you guide in class instruction, or, lead you to, we've even seen some teachers that use this as a way to understand what the harder questions are so they can put those on the quiz. So there's a lot of ways to use this data. I don't know, Josh, if you've ever used this side of class progress.
I have used that a lot, and I have used it for the nefarious purposes. So I've if sometimes it's surprising too which words are easy and which words are not. And so yeah, definitely you can get in there and spend a little bit more time on those words in class. And then also, yeah, if you want to make sure that you balance out the quiz too. So sometimes I'll put a question on the quiz that I know students are more likely to get. That's
right.
Not only for evil purposes, but also for benevolent purposes.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, that's great. And I think for the next slide, we're actually going to, so we actually did a recent survey with our teacher ambassadors, and asked them how they use class progress, and they had some really great suggestions and practical use cases. So again, some teachers will use this every day and kind of assign homework that way to make sure students are completing the homework on Quizlet. Other people will check it every week, every month, just kind of get a general overview for the month or something like that. But yeah, in this first example, you can see that this teacher does check it every day, checks whether the students are doing what this person is asking, and then can know to remind the student, actually using the app Remind, to study if she sees that they're not doing it. In the second example, this teacher is actually actively using and looking at class progress as students are studying in the computer room. So that kind of is, a direct way to use it in class instruction and to kind of make sure students are doing what you're asking them to do in that context. Then in the third example, this teacher actually, gives her students the sets and then actually sees probably early on in the process of them studying it, which ones are most difficult, and actually, adapts the sets if, a question isn't clear enough or a concept is just kind of easy. So that's another great way to kind of use this to actually make your sets even better and more clear for your students. And then this last example, we hear from teachers a lot that teachers will like to do Quizlet Live maybe at the end of the week and have their students study in like more of the individual study modes earlier in the week to prep for that session. So this is a teacher who checks class progress probably on a Thursday or Friday morning to see if the students are ready and have done the work that she asked to get ready for Quizlet Live, so that it's a game that goes well versus people are just kind of guessing. And you can also, of course, see which study modes they choose to use. I think Josh mentioned something about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and so how to upgrade? It's really easy. If you don't already have an account on Quizlet, go to Quizlet.com and sign up for one. You can sign up with email and a password, or you can sign up with Google or Facebook so you don't have to remember a separate password. I highly encourage you to do one of those two things. It's much easier. Or if you already have an existing free Quizlet account, log into your account and then go to Quizlet.com/upgrade. And you should see a little button in the upper right-hand corner that will take you to this page as well. So yeah, go ahead and do that. It's, again, such a great upgrade and supports our mission, so we really appreciate you. Okay, so I was going to see if we could demo with your sets, Josh. I know you kind of covered this, but maybe we could talk a little bit more about this. So this is an example of you using the audio, correct?
Right, exactly.
Right. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you formatted this set and how you're using it?
Sure. So, so you've got the term on the left, how long did you live there? So I'm using it as a full question. And so in this set, the idea is that they need to learn that question. So he lived in Japan, and so the question then is, how long did he live there? And she worked in Germany. How long did she work there? So, but if you look at the next one, it says she lives in Concord. So here it's how long has she lived there? So actually, this set focuses on the grammatical difference between using the present perfect, how long has she, or how long have you, versus the simple past. And then at the same time, I wanted students to be able to hear that natural English pronunciation that I mentioned before. So I recorded on the left side with the terms, I recorded it both both quickly, natural speed, and then slowly. Mamalia, did you want to do a sample?
Yeah, let's listen.
How long did he live there? How long did he live there?
He lived in Japan. So, first of all, I
wanted to add there is that one of the things, it's a cool little hack about Quizlet that a lot of folks don't know, is that if you put something in parentheses, as I did in the definition there, how long blank, it won't pronounce that. The automatic computer voice won't pronounce it. So that's a really nice way to give hints also. And I chose not to record the definition part, because that way it actually creates more of a distinction between the question and the answer, or the prompt and the question that comes after.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say this is such a great example of a wonderful set, because I think that when people see term and definition or hear me say that as how to input content into Quizlet, there's actually just so many ways that you can use this really simple format. So what you've done here is just really creative, and I think a great example for other teachers who are watching today. And yeah, that parentheses thing is such a great way to give verbal hints or a little bit more context, even if you don't want your students to hear the audio or actually have to type that in when using a study mode like Learn or Write, where you're writing in the definition. So it's a really cool hack and a really great example of using custom audio. And then I think your next set uses custom images. So let's open that one. Right. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you're using this set and these images?
Yeah. One thing, so it might be a little bit hard for people to see with the picture. The pictures actually get bigger on this one. There we go. Thank you. So this picture is the first one there that says the prompt says what, and the students know that they need to do this, that, these, or those. So the finger, the picture with the finger is pointing to 3 boxes that are near the person, so we know that it's what are these. But if you move down to the next one, I don't know, Amalia, if you could do that. Yeah. So then, what is this? Because it's singular. And then if you do the next picture, and so it's only one box, but it's farther away. So it's what is that? And so these were pictures that I was able to get on my own, and then add those to my set. And so it's not the kind of thing that you would normally find in the free sets of pictures, but it was really, really helpful in being able to get students to practice a very specific grammar point that I wanted to work on. Right. So so here you look at that. What are these? What is this? Oh, I'm glad I'm doing well. What's that? And here again, you could also even add I'm not sure if I did it for this set, but you could also add the pronunciation. So like here, it would be, what are those? But if I wanted to, I could make the pronunciation, what are those? So I don't think I customized this one, but it adds that extra layer of authenticity and sort of real world English that can be really, really helpful for students.
Yeah, such a great example. I love this example. And again, we do have this amazing free gallery that we're able to offer to all free users, but this is just such a good example of when custom images really make a lot of sense. So I think what I'm going to do, Josh, is just make a copy of this. I can delete this later, but just so we get a sense of, I'm giving a sneak peek of a feature that we'll be talking about later, our diagrams feature. But I can make a copy of this set and actually record my own custom audio if I wanted to, upload my own images, that sort of thing. Were you going to add something, Josh?
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, when you started to do the copy thing, is that's something that I think is really, such a fantastic feature of Quizlet, is that, you can go ahead and find sets that have already been made, and then as soon as you copy it, and then it becomes part of your set, now you can edit it. So that's something that we do at my school. I make a lot of sets for the entire school, but I keep a master set so that other teachers can pull mine and then edit them. I don't want them to edit my master set, but they can edit their own sets and
adapt it for their own use.
Exactly.
Great point. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things too. It's just it's also such a time saver because we have over 180 million sets already created by teachers and students on Quizlet. So there's bound to be something on the topic you're teaching. And so if you can save time by making a copy and then kind of adapting it as you need it, that's just such a good way to save time.
Yeah, I was just going to also say to the folks that are listening that you are absolutely welcome to copy any sets that I have. My username is KJosh, KJOSH.
Awesome. And we can make sure to include the link to your profile in the questions area of the webinar tools, so all of you watching can just click through to that and see Josh's account.
And I also have a school site that with even more sets.
Oh, wow.
So people who are interested in, there are kind of hundreds of sets there. And so, so people who want to get more ESL stuff, there's a nice little gold mine there.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing, Josh. Again, I just want to highlight, so for something like this that has a really specific purpose and intention, our image gallery has a ton of images, but this is just a little too abstract for it. So it's coming up with images that really don't make sense. So this is really such a good example of when you really would want to upload your own image to make sure that you have exactly what you're trying to share with your students there. And then I just want to highlight this is the voice recording feature, so I think my mic is working. It has to be if I'm speaking, so let's see. Microphone, allow. This is where I can actually record my own voice really easily by pressing the space bar. I can do it multiple times to make sure I get exactly what I want. I can switch to the term, and then I can move on to the next one. So just showing you in real time what this feature looks like. It's also just so beautiful. Look how it's moving. It's talking. So make sure to check it out if you do indeed upgrade the feature. So I did want to highlight a few other things. So this account is already upgraded to Quizlet Teacher, but for those of you who are creating new accounts and are logging into your free accounts, this is kind of the button area that you can see the opportunity to upgrade. And if I clicked on this, this is actually okay. So this is telling me about a referral program, which is actually a great program to highlight. If you already have Quizlet Teacher or after you upgrade, this is a way to invite others by email to upgrade using your referral link. So if you already have Quizlet Teacher or you upgrade today, make sure to copy this link and share it. You'll get additional months on your Quizlet Teacher upgrade, and they'll also get a discount when they're upgrading. But just for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to make sure to go to the right page. There we go. So right now you can see that the prices change for our promo up here. It's normally $34.99 for the year, but now it's $25.99. This gives you just a quick summary of what features we already went over today. And then another thing I want to highlight, for those of you who maybe already have Quizlet Teacher or are super excited to share Quizlet with your department or your school, we also have, and as Matt mentioned in the past presentation, we have a discount for people who are upgrading as a group. So if I click into this, it takes me to this page where I can actually visualize my discount. So there we go, I see my savings. And how this works is that we will actually send you one simple link that you can then share with your department or the other people that are part of your group. And when each user clicks on that link, they'll be prompted either to sign up for an account if they already have one, or log into their existing one. And then we will activate an upgrade on their individual account. And if they already have an upgrade, so let's say you're a teacher with an upgrade, you ask your school to purchase maybe 10 more to supply to your department, but your upgrade isn't expired yet, no problem. When you click on this link, it'll add an additional year to your upgrade. So what's so great about this is that it's just kind of one simple link that you can share with the group, and that individual users can click into it anytime to activate either their upgrade or an additional year on their current upgrade. It just really saves a lot of time and energy for going back and forth with your admin to individually upgrade your account. So this is a great thing to note if you are thinking about getting more people on board at your school, or more people are currently at your school upgraded to Quizlet Teacher. And again, this is accessible from that original upgrade page. You can even customize your receipt, and you can actually, this is another cool thing about this, create an invoice. So once I get to this checkout page, I have the option to pay with a card here, make a secure payment, or I can actually create an invoice. And we're in the process of making this system a little bit better. I think that's going to be launching over the next month or so. But right now, it's really easy to just send this invoice to someone by email, include your name, include a message about what this is, and then that means whoever receives this email can actually complete the payment on your behalf, or pay with a check if that's the way that your school does things. We make it super simple to do this. Okay, so how are we doing on time? Is it time for Q&A? Or do we have... Perfect. So let's go ahead and start Q&A. And make sure to add your questions from me or Josh. We can add to them.
All right, I see a question from Amy and a couple of other people that want some clarification about what kind of audio you can add to your set. Is it uploading a file? Is it recording something? What are we talking about when we talk about adding audio?
So that's a really great question. And I think, as we just reviewed in the demo, it's really recording recording audio. So I will press the space bar and I can record, me speaking. I can play a noise, but it would have to be from maybe a different browser window or my phone, or making the noise myself. Who knows? There isn't a way at this time to upload a file, but it is something that we hear about, and it's something that we possibly could add in the future.
Great. I see a question from Sharon. Sharon wants to know how to tell, you can use ClassPark to tell how many hours total or how much time students spend studying. Jess says, just saying they finish it doesn't tell me how much time they spent on it.
That's a great question. So we don't have exact data on how long students are studying, but let me actually just show you class progress and what it looks like. Oops, this was the wrong set. And actually, let's do this wonderful feature showing off English vocabulary. So it's a great way, if you didn't ever see this before, you can actually filter your sets to find exactly what you need. So here again are the features of class progress. I'm on the set page. I have the student sort, and right now it's not showing me anything because I'm filtered to the past 2 weeks. But if I actually filter here, I can see how my students were doing on this set. So again, this is the kind of group progress aspect of class progress. And now, if I click into this button on this little toolbar area, I can see more activity data on how my students are studying. So again, if I filter here, this will populate. And so, as you can see here, you don't see how many attempts they've made, and you don't see how long they've been studying. But kind of a cool thing that if you wanted kind of a deeper analysis or wanted to check on an individual student, there's a quick link to that student's profile where I can see a little bit more information about what they're studying and how they're studying. So if I click into this user, which is a test account, and into their studying tab, this user hasn't been studying that much, it's a test account, but you can see here's the set that we were just on, and I can actually see a little bit more data, including the number of times they actually completed these modes. So this is just kind of a little hack to see a little bit more, and if we can try to find a user account that has a little bit more study data on it, let's see. Is one of these your accounts? Or tester accounts?
No,
tester account. Okay, let's see if I think it's my account. Or actually, let's just go to my current account that I've logged into. So this is a great way to get to your profile page. By the way, if you don't know that, your study sets will take you to your profile where you can see everything you've graded, everything you studied, your folders, your classes. I go to my study tab. This shows me a few minutes ago I was studying this, today, this week, in June. And if you have multiple sets that you've studied under a given day, they'll kind of show up bucketed that way. So again, you can kind of get a sense of how long students were studying, but we don't have a direct number or timestamp. It's a really long-winded way to answer that question and also show you class progress. Bear with us.
All right, Laura says, if you copy another teacher's set, you still add audio to a created account, or does it only work for those you create on your own?
Yes, so you can definitely add your own audio, edit any images, use all of the features of your upgraded package if you're copying someone else's set. It works for if you create your own set from scratch or if you copy.
And Amalia, just to piggyback on that, so for example, if somebody copied my set with with how long did you and how long have you,
right.
Once you've copied it, you can edit it, so you could change the voice recording from mine to yours.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so you have complete power and control to edit the set. You can take away terms, add terms, you can change the recordings, change the pictures.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's a really good point to emphasize. When you copy a set, you really are creating your own version of it, and you have full control over things like the terms, the recordings, the images. You also have full control over the privacy permissions. So, maybe Josh's set is public, but I want to use mine privately in a class. I can easily change that setting here.
Great. It looks like Elsie has a question for Josh. She says, do you give points or credit or some incentive for those green checks in the study data? Do you ever give them a minimum percentage that you want them to achieve? What are some best practices for using class progress with your class?
Great question.
Right. So I got sort of implied earlier that I don't do that myself. I mostly use it just to let them know that I can check. But if I wanted to, certainly I could do something like, give them a homework grade and just check it. You need to study Quizlet by, whatever, 10 p.m. tonight or something like that. And I go through and I check and just give them a grade. So I would probably do something like, come up with sort of a 1, 2, 3 scale, or a 0, 1, 2, 3 scale, and then just give them credit that way. With my students, that's not sort of the way I want to go, but I could totally see, and I think it makes it super easy. If you have any kind of grading program, you could just quickly look and see who studied and who hasn't, and add a grade. I hope that answers the question that the person was trying to ask.
I think that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. How much more time do we have for Q&A, Vish?
We have anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. We're taking a break after this.
Great. Awesome. I have a question from Denise who asks, is there a way to select multiple sets if you wanted to do either a massive Quizlet Live or to quiz over a larger amount of material? Yeah, so that's a great question. We do have a feature we call Combine, and that is a great way to kind of bundle together a bunch of your smaller sets into one kind of master set. And we see a lot of students use this, or teachers use this as well, to create smaller sets during the quarter or the semester or the year, and then kind of create a bigger master set out of them for students to study for finals preparation. So the way to get to this is that you would just start from any set page of one of the sets that you want to combine. You would go to this little ... icon, this more icon on this toolbar on the set page, click on that, and then actually select this feature Combine. So if I click into that, I'm going to see the set that I've already selected. I will also see all of my sets if I'm toggled to that area. I can also, search, use my folders, use my classes. So there's a lot of easy ways to filter to the sets that you want to see here. And then I can, grab any of the sets. This won't make sense, this combination, but I can grab any of the sets that I'd like to combine. And if I was a student using this, I would probably, maybe I don't want to create a brand new set. Maybe I just want to study it in a certain way, and I can easily do that with these options. But as a teacher, I probably want to create a brand new set. And again, if I do that, it basically functions the same way as copy, and it creates a brand new version that incorporates all of the sets I've selected. So the sets that I made copies from, those are still intact. You can still use those separately, but this is now a brand new set that has all of the terms and definitions that were included in those original sets. And of course, I can edit the title, study for finals. I can add a description if I want to let my students know how I want them to study, or give them a little bit more context about this, or links to other contextual material that they need to look into. It's a great way to use the description box. And then I can create and save. And then I can share the set super easily, just like any of my other sets with my students. I can add it to my classes. I can share it by link or in the email. I can share it in Google Classroom. So yeah, it's super easy to combine lots of little sets into a much bigger set.
Great. There's a couple of questions coming in about class progress and the interplay between that and having students study at home on their mobile devices, because mobile phones don't necessarily have all the exact same study modes that our desktop website has. So are there thoughts on how to manage that, where some students maybe only have a mobile phone but you want them to study?
Definitely. I would say we're definitely working to bring more of the site's functionality onto our apps. Right now, I would say the study modes that are on our apps are definitely more targeted towards independent study. So flashcards, learn, match, things that students are going to be doing independently. And so if you're asking your students to study at home, that is something to note that there are only certain modes that will be available to them. Those are the same on iOS and Android. So regardless of what kind of device your student has, they'll still be able to access the same thing. And then for things like Quizlet Live or Gravity, those are modes that you might do as a class reward after the student has completed those modes.
Great. I think that is all the questions that we have time for. I do still see a fair number of questions about managing upgrades and group upgrades and discounts and people who are already upgraded. And so what I would say is our help center is a great place to ask those questions. Any questions you have about a specific issue with your account, it's generally the best place to go is our help center, and Amalia will put the link up for that. If you scroll to the bottom there, you can see a contact us button, and that's a great place to get help managing your account, understanding how your upgrade works. And you'll also see that there's a bunch of articles here that are really helpful, including this For Teachers section, which has resources, webinars, quick start guides, and other information that you can use to get ramped up on Quizlet and help your students get ramped up as well.
Yeah, I would say this is a great section to check out if you're just getting started or if you kind of want to dive in deeper. Again, we have webinars, we have more teacher resources, and you might have noticed that in the handout section of your webinar tools, we've actually uploaded a few of the resources that we include on this page, which include kind of FAQs for new teachers, FAQs. So if you're leading a PD session, for example, this might be a great resource. FAQs for students who are older than 13. So this is a great thing to hand out to your students at the start of class to get them all signed up and into your classes on Quizlet. Here's a great one for parents, for students who are younger than 13 on how to, like, what Quizlet is and how to create an account with them. Lots of good stuff here. So make sure to check that out. And again, another key kind of area is this upgrades and payments section. So again, if you have questions about group discounts, this is a great FAQ walking through exactly what you'll get in different ways to pay, managing your subscriptions, generating a code or invoice, paying by check. All of this good stuff is in our help center ready for you to access.
Perfect. So this concludes the class progress and teacher upgrade presentation. We want to thank Josh one more time for coming out. He'll actually be back for the presentation on how like nuanced Quizlet use cases in the classroom that we're doing in the panel. So we're very excited to see him back for that. But thanks, Josh, once again for giving your input on this.
My pleasure. It's great to be here.